Hey everyone, Drew White here with the Texan. This is another edition of our Battleground podcast. We were honored to have Jennifer Fleck join us. She's a candidate in the Republican primary for House District 47, which was formerly a Republican seat that is now flipped hands, currently being represented by Representative Vikki Goodwin. Jennifer sat down with us. She talked a little bit about her background as a wife, a mom, as a lawyer, why she's running in the race, what is animating her to sort of throw her hat in the ring, so to speak, as well as some of the ideas she has going forward. And then we spoke a little bit about some of her fun activities, hobbies she likes to do, places she likes to go around Texas. We hope you guys really enjoy the podcast as we do more of these candidate interviews in these really critical battleground districts. Head on over to thetexan.news to read more stories and subscribe. Thanks, guys. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Texan podcast. My name is Drew White, senior editor here at the Texan, and we are back for another special Battleground edition of the podcast. And we are thrilled to welcome Jennifer Fleck with us today in the office. Jennifer is a candidate for House District 47, which is becoming a very, very crowded sort of field in the Republican side. But thank you for joining us. Thanks for coming in today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So before we get started, before we jump into the political side, a little bit of your background. I was looking into it. You have a very interesting background. You're mom of three, been married for almost 25 years. Is that right? Mm-hmm. I've been married for 2. My wife's still with me, so I'm very happy. And you're also a practicing lawyer as well. You've got kind of a vast legal experience. Can you talk a little bit about sort of your background, upbringing, all that?
Sure, absolutely. So I was born in Denison, same birthplace of Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Yep.
So that's kind of cool. Then I was raised in Fort Worth.
Okay.
And then I got married and we moved to Houston and we raised our kids there. I have 3 kids, 2 boys and 1 girl.
Okay.
And I got a degree actually in Arlington, UT Arlington in accounting.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got my degree, I was like, oh, I don't want to sit at a desk all day, which not all accountants do that. But in my mind, at 23 years old, that's what I thought. So I went into sales, actually, and sold touchscreen computer systems to restaurants for a few years, which was super fun.
Yeah.
And then I was making really good money. We moved to Houston, and then I came home one day, and I said to my husband, Chris, I said, oh, I'm bored. Like, I'm meant for more. And so he agreed to allow me to go to law school, like quit my job and go to law school. So I went to law school at South Texas College of Law in Houston, which I loved. Yeah. It was actually the first time I enjoyed school. Yeah. Which it was hard. I liked that it was hard. Yeah. And I liked being graded against my classmates. Yeah. I liked that. Yeah. I liked that when someone asked a stupid question, the teachers would just embarrass them.
Go after them. Yeah.
I don't know. I liked it. And I liked having to be prepared every day. I don't know. I'm a very A-type personality, so I liked law school a lot. So then I graduated from law school and I worked for a solo practitioner for 15 years in Houston and raised my kids. And
what kind of litigation was that? Just out of curiosity.
So trial work, business litigation, disputes about money. So not family, not criminal.
Sure. Okay.
And so I really liked it. I had, 100 files and lots of clients. And I went to tax court a lot because we represented MUDs also. And anyway, I liked it. And I did a lot of different kinds of things, kind of whatever walked in the door.
Sure.
And so then in 2015, I got a call from an old actually opponent. I didn't know that. He's introduced himself on the phone. He's like, do you remember me? And I was like, not really, because I have all these files. Yeah. And so he reminded me of the facts of the case. And I was like, oh, yeah. I'm like, do you need something? What's wrong? And he said, well, I'm CFO of a company and we're looking for general counsel. And I was like, awesome, I'll take it. So I interviewed and got the job. And so that's who I work for now. It's an oil and gas services company. Okay. And I'm general counsel and I do everything they need. I kind of am like attorney on call. Yeah. So I review contracts. I do employment law. Yeah. I do some collections, just whatever. I advise on business policies. Yeah. I like it. And I get to work from home, which is really nice.
Yeah, that is nice. I've done that in a previous professional capacity. And I don't know if I could do it forever, but there is something nice sort of about the ability to kind of control your own schedule and get things done at your own rate.
So nice.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
So where is this company based? Is it headquartered in Austin?
It's headquartered in Buffalo, Texas, which is near Centerville, between Houston and Dallas. Okay. And then we have a yard in Floresville.
Okay.
And we have a yard in Monahans, which is in West Texas. And then we have a civil office in Houston.
Yeah. So has that been, I mean, obviously Texas with the energy exports and how the oil and gas, I mean, it's been booming, right? How's that been being involved sort of from a legal perspective, but has it been sort of a dynamic situation as Texas is exporting a lot more energy than we used to? And it's been interesting to watch from a policy perspective on the growth there.
It's a great business to be in. When I started, the market was on the downturn. And so it's a lot more litigious when the market's on the downturn because people aren't paying. People are going out of business. Businesses are filing bankruptcy, and we're laying off a lot of employees. When business is good, which is now, which is really, and it's awesome. It's really nice to be on the other side of a downturn and to know that you made it. And so, so now it's really more about business development is what I do. I help with business development and expanding our territory into other states and applying for those licenses if necessary and reviewing new contracts. So that's mainly what I do now.
That sounds very interesting. Honestly, it does. My mom tried to get me to go to law school. So my degree is actually in international relations and a master's in Middle Eastern history. So it has absolutely nothing to do with any of what we're seeing right now. But I remember she tried to get me to go to law school, and I remember thinking like, I don't know if I could do it. Like, getting into the minutia and that sort of stuff. But now, I've got so many friends that are lawyers, and they either really love it, or they kind of look fondly back at law school, like you were saying. It's like, I really like being in the classroom. I don't know that I like, what I'm currently doing. I guess it kind of depends on what you do.
Again, I loved it. And I think it provides a strong foundation for anything that you're doing. So I highly recommend it. Anytime someone's like, I'm thinking about going to law school, I'm like, you need to go.
You need to go.
You should go.
That is, it's so funny to hear. Like it's so funny to hear that, just because I've got people I know that are like, you don't need to go, or people are like, it's been the best thing I've ever done. So that's fascinating. Well, we'll switch gears a little bit. You're a candidate for the state house. And for those that may not be familiar or may have forgotten, as we're covering, House District 47 is west of Austin. I think Bee Cave is there. It's the
way I describe it is it's the district goes all the way around Lake Travis. And includes, Steiner and part of Bee Cave and Spanish Oaks. And then it kind of curls down into Circle C and Onion Creek. That's how I describe it.
And this is a historically, it's been a Republican district prior to last year. It's currently Representative Vikki Goodwin is the current representative. She's a freshman. And we can jump into that. But the first question out of the gate for you is, what made you want to run? What was the driving, motivating factor to jump into this craziness?
So the short answer is that I think that we deserve better government, better leadership, representative government, responsive government. So that's the short answer. No, that's good. We've had a couple of the other candidates on in the primary with you. I think there's 5 now that are in. So, this is going to be a really interesting race to watch. As you're kind of assessing the primary, what do you think, based off your background or maybe, particular qualities that you want to bring, what do you think sets you apart in this particular field? Well, a lot, I think. So I have 20 years of legal experience. And although I don't think that you have to be an attorney to be a legislator, I think it helps because we are writing and changing laws. So it's helpful. So in 2012, I got involved with a group of parents concerning sex education in the public schools. That's how I got involved in quote unquote politics, although I didn't know that's what was happening at the time. And so I was able to help those parents who came to me, probably because I was an attorney is why they approached me. And we had kids the same age. And I stayed involved with that issue. I call myself a one issue activist. So some people are like one issue voters. They're like, if you agree with me on this issue, I'll vote for you. I was a one issue activist. And so from 2013 to this last session, I went to the Capitol and talk to legislators about bills that protect children and protect parental rights. And this session, I actually drafted 3 bills that all got filed by different legislators. And so I was there every week, sometimes twice a week, all day, making appointments and pushing these bills through.
Yeah.
And none of them made it all the way through the process. But so I'm an attorney. I know how to write bills.
Yep.
I'm very familiar with the process.
Yep.
I'm very plugged in with the activists that are at the Capitol and the people who care about the party and care about the platform. And I've owned a home in the district since 2005, which is not like some of the other candidates. Because to be fair, this district is considered one of the only Republican winnable districts in Travis County. So it attracts candidates.
Yeah, sure.
So to be fair, I go to church in the district, and I have a child still in the public schools in the district. Yeah. And so I think all of those things set me apart. I have a history of working for the people of the state. And so I actually created a YouTube channel of clips of all my testimonies at the Capitol and some testimonies in front of the State Board of Education and some legislative briefings so that voters can go and look at my history and they know who they're voting for. So I didn't just decide, I want to be a politician today. So I think I have all of those things. And I care about Texas. Like, I really care about Texas. And this session, I didn't feel like, based on my experience, I didn't feel like the legislators cared about the things that I cared about. Yeah. And so that in combination with Austin being represented by all Democrats, all 6 districts, I decided that I was going to run this session.
So, bringing up the session, it's been interesting. We had, I think, Lieutenant Governor characterized it as a Super Bowl session, when they were doing the signing on property tax reform and the school finance reform efforts. And we've heard, we've reported on and seen, there's elements of, the kind of the conservative grassroots or the activists that kind of said the same thing you said, which was, but we're spending a lot of money, or we didn't really make a lot of progress on the life issue, or we didn't really make a lot of progress on, CPS type issues or, family issues. And, we didn't see any progress on Second Amendment, these sort of things. So we're not happy, right? There's been a lot of, I think, discomfort is probably a very mild way of putting it, between sort of the elected officials and the base, it seems. And obviously there's shades of that going through. Specifically, what would you have done differently if you had been in office? Like, what would you have focused on if you had already been elected as a priority that maybe wasn't a priority in the session?
Well, this is what I'm going to focus on.
Yeah.
I'm going to focus on the Republican Party platform priorities.
Yeah.
That's my focus.
Yeah.
So I don't appreciate when a legislator tells me that they voted in accordance with their conscience.
Yeah.
Because I think that should be left to their own private ballot.
Yeah.
I think an elected official's job is to represent the people. So I've been at the precinct convention. I've been at a county convention. I've testified in front of the state convention on party platform planks. And so I know how much work goes into that. And it's a collective effort of the voters. We're just, as an elected official, we're just representing that collective effort.
Yeah.
So I would file a bill. I would file one bill for every legislative priority.
Yeah.
That's how I would file my bills. That's how I would prioritize what I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then vote that way.
Yeah. So Vikki Goodwin's currently representing it. And we posted, this has been probably a month and a half, 2 months ago. So right after the session ended, Mark Jones of Rice University does this analysis every session, which is really interesting, of sort of grading both the House and the Senate on an ideological perspective, like who's the most conservative, who's the most liberal. Turns out that actually Representative Goodwin, she's a freshman, is actually the 7th most liberal elected official in the House as a freshman.
If you look at her voting record.
If you look at her voting record. And we've invited her on. Hopefully she's going to be able to make it later in the fall. We'd love to sit down and talk with her as well. What are your thoughts on that in this race? Do you think that helps her in this district? Do you think it hurts her? Do you think that's something that, needs to be analyzed more? What are your views of that?
Well, I'm hoping she's not watching because I don't want to really take my advice, because I have advice for all my opponents too. And then I'm like, do I want to give them advice? I think that it's bad strategy on her part if she wants to get reelected. It's possible that she doesn't want to get reelected.
Yeah.
But I believe that House District 47 is a conservative district still. I know that the votes portray it as a 50-50 district.
Yeah.
But it's a conservative district.
Yeah.
I know that it is.
Yeah.
If I were her, I would have probably played more toward the middle, which is what all our Republicans did. I would have played more towards the middle to assure or to ensure that I could get reelected or to help my chances.
Yeah.
So I think that was bad strategy.
Yeah.
I view myself as competing with Kane as the most conservative member when elected.
Yeah.
So I'm at the very far other end.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just to mention one bill that really bothers me because it hits my sweet spot.
Sure.
Is there was a bill this session that would have penalized counselors if they counseled a child, a minor, away from gender transitioning.
Yeah, I remember this.
She voted for that bill. She co-authored that bill in support of it. And so that's a bill that those sorts of bills those are the things that keep me up at night. Yeah. Like I can't sleep at night thinking that children are being taken advantage of on the altar of an agenda. Yeah. So that bothers me, and I don't want anybody representing me that believes that way.
So you've got background experience, in this sort of pro bono work. I know this is near and dear based off your background and what you're very interested in. These kind of issues seem to be becoming more and more common. These sort of, I don't want to call it cultural issues, but these sort of family, the gender identity stuff, and particularly in Austin. I mean, Austin's a very progressive place, in terms of, in general, compared to the rest of Texas. I think that's probably a fair statement.
Compared to small town Texas,
yeah.
It's the media. I mean, so, like people tell you like, everybody hates Americans. And then you go travel and people like don't hate Americans. And you're like, well, that's not even true. Yeah. And so I know Austin is portrayed as this progressive, liberal city. I don't know if that's true. Yeah. Yeah. And maybe it depends, it obviously depends on where you are. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you think these kind of issues, do you see this as a new sort of battleground that not only separates the parties, but just people in general when it comes to, I'm a parent of a young kid. I'm going to be honest with you. Like there's no way I'm going to teach my son there's more than two genders because it's not scientifically accurate. Right. Well, it's unhealthy.
And it's not healthy. Mm-hmm. And you're looking at this and I'm not going to lie. He's not even a year old. I'm concerned, what he's going to be taught and what he's going to be exposed to. Yeah. Do you think this is going to be an issue that becomes more and more prominent in the minds of Republican voters and families and more of a really political issue as opposed to right now it's kind of a cultural one? It seems to be shifting in that direction. What are your thoughts on that? Well, I do think it's becoming, I don't know if I'd call it a political issue. Yeah. I think it's just becoming a real issue. Yeah. And I think that parents they're becoming more aware, but I think parents are naive about what's happening in the schools and what's happening in the classroom. Yeah. And that certain agendas are being taught and normalized. And that's concerning to me. Yeah. After 18, we're going to have a whole different discussion about what I think about someone's private business. Sure. But as it pertains to minors, and as it pertains to public education, I have very, very strong opinions. Yeah. And the data and the statistics and the medical analysis says that all of these things are very unhealthy. Yeah. And so I think we do a very poor job messaging as a society and as a culture and as a school system even that we message against drinking. Yeah. Alcohol. Yeah. We message against drugs. Yeah. We message against self-harm. Yeah. Suicide is like this huge thing we're super concerned about, which is concerning. Yeah. We message school safety. Yeah. Yeah. and yet we allow a very destructive message about sexuality and gender to children whose minds aren't fully developed. Right. That's just a fact. Yeah.
And so that worries me. And parents, I don't know if the situation has to get really bad before parents pay attention. But I've been talking about this for a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm always a little surprised that it doesn't worry more people.
Yeah.
But I think it's a problem, and I really hope and pray that I can bring some attention to that issue and that we can do something about it and strengthen parental rights. We had a bill this session that would have done that, and it passed the Senate and got stuck in committee in the House.
And I know there's a lot of bills we've heard from other folks, same things like that didn't make it. I think that's an interesting angle. No one that we've spoken to yet has actually. That has not been sort of the a key issue for them. So I think it's really interesting because I think it's something that is becoming more prominent. We obviously follow it. We pay attention to it. I mean, people I know are always talking about like, what's going on with this, this particular issue on transgender this, or, this child wants to go from a boy to a girl and the parents are okay with it. Like, what implications does this have on society? And so I think that's really interesting. That's something that you're really focused on as well. So, moving forward, I don't know if you've been paying attention to any of the drama. And of course, while we're recording this, there's palace intrigue going on. I have two questions for you on that. Number one, does the sort of continuing saga between the speaker and Empower Texans, does this make you want to just not run for office?
No, nothing makes me not want to run. I mean, there are days that are scary, but it's more because I allow my schedule to get overwhelmed and I start thinking that this is a task I can't really overcome.
Sure.
But then I get myself together and pray and I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised by what's happening between the speaker and Empower Texans. I've never met the speaker.
Yeah.
And I have never met Michael Quinn Sullivan.
Yeah.
So I have nothing personal to say about either one of them. However, I was at session every week this last session. And I saw not just my issue burning, going up in flames, but I encountered a lot of different activists on other issues that, people don't realize maybe that, people drive in from 5, 6, 7, 8 hours away to testify for 3 minutes on something they really care about.
It may wait hours when you get there.
And I've testified at 2 a.m. before. I testified at midnight this session.
Yeah.
And so people, when you continue to encounter Texas citizens in the Capitol who are grieving loss of something that they really care about, that is really important, over and over and over and over again, I knew early in the session that something wasn't right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so many things need to be fixed.
Yeah. So I obviously will not, because we don't know. No one's seen, the recording or heard it. Rather, the recording, can't see a recording, but no one's heard the recording. No one knows exactly what happened, except for the people in the room, right? That's really the only one that really knows what went down. And we don't want to speculate on it. We haven't been. We've just been trying to inform people what's going on. And I'm not going to ask you to speculate on it either. That would not be fair. But I will say, just as a question, do you think that this is largely, I guess, for the party? Do you think this is harmful, in terms of, regardless of how it plays out? Is this a problem? Is this maybe an opportunity? How do you view, just from a 30,000 foot level, what's going on? So
it's sort of what I compare it to my issue in that maybe things have to get really bad before people get involved.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would say the same thing about this.
Yeah.
Is maybe things had to get really bad for true conservatives, true Republicans to get involved.
Yeah.
And I'm praying for, and I don't mean to make enemies, and so I'm not naming names, so I think it's okay. I'm praying for an historical big freshman Republican electorate in 2020.
What do you think? So, I mean, 2018 was obviously, it was a really good year for Democrats. I mean, they made big gains. Do you think 2020, do you think that looks way different with the president on the ticket? You do?
I do.
Yeah.
I think it looks very, very different.
Yeah.
I think it was an anomaly. I think people say Beto is at the top of the ticket. That's the reason. I've also heard other people say that we didn't go out and get the Trump voters, like the new Trump voters that voted for Trump. They didn't come out in 2018. So they're going to in 2020.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried. I know I should be, I guess, but I'm not a worrier. I think Texas is solidly red.
Yeah.
And I think Trump's going to do great.
Yeah.
My prediction is he's going to win by more than he did in 2016.
We will say it's going to be really interesting. We've been following the presidential debates and I think there's like 11 billion people running for president on the Democrat side. It seems to be a new person jumping in every time. But
I haven't watched them. I can't watch them because it's just too much for me. But I do listen to Ben Shapiro's summary.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's good enough for me.
Well, at Daily Wire, their game, their social media game is very strong. It's very funny too.
It is funny. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
And he plays enough of the bits of it that I'm like, I get the idea and it's enough for me.
And I remember, I worked on the Senate side for Senator Cruz when he was running for president. So there wasn't on the campaign side, but obviously when the guy you're working for is running for president, there is something fun too about the whole, like, just watching it play out, regardless of a Republican or Democrat debate. It's really entertaining to sit there and be like, all right, who's gonna make the gaffe? Who's gonna have the witty one-liner? That's kind of fun. But honestly, fun at someone else's expense.
It's fun
at someone else's expense. But I will say this: I never learn anything from these debates because it's all canned responses. And I don't say that you shouldn't watch them because you should, but there's no new information. At this point, I'm just sort of like, I kind of know what everybody's going to say, right? You know? So, but it's interesting. So you think next year is going to be a very good year for Republicans?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. And I've been meeting people mainly because I'm a candidate. And so there are a lot of people from all over the country that are coming in to Texas to help us out. Strong leaders. Yeah. And so I feel good about it. I'm glad that they care about us.
Yeah. So last question on sort of the politics policy type thing. The Austin City Council recently passed this homeless ordinance, and we've been covering that. And we were at the forum last week, I think it was. Our reporter Brad Johnson was there. And there seems to be some serious concerns with what ramifications that might have now that people can camp out in public and safety, sort of public health, these things. What are your views of that, kind of being in this area and seeing it?
So I read the new ordinance and it's concerning that police aren't able to interfere, right, or stop a homeless person unless they feel like they're threatening someone. Well, who's defining threatening?
Seems gray.
It sort of reminds me of the mental health issue where if you have a mental health issue, you can't you can't get really help until you're a threat to yourself or others. Yeah. It's really pushing the envelope and not addressing the problem early on. Yeah. I just haven't been downtown for a couple weeks. And so as I was coming down here today, I noticed more areas that people are camping in. And it just makes me sad that because people come to Austin because it's so beautiful, right? And we live here because it's so beautiful.
And there's tons of stuff to do.
Yes, and we want to bring, we want our family and our friends to come in from all over, and we want to take them downtown so that they can see this beautiful capital city. And it makes me really sad. Yeah. And I'm really hoping that they do something different. Yeah. And I have had people come up to me recently that are very, very concerned. And they'll say, I've always been a Democrat. Yeah. And then they'll say, but I can't agree with what's happening. Yeah. And so, again, maybe things have to get really bad before people start paying attention and voting differently. And
the Travis County Republican Chairman, Matt McCoviak, we covered that as well. I mean, his petition, it got over, it's over 15,000. Last I checked, 15,000, 16,000.
I think it's up to almost 20 now.
It may be almost 20. And, that's an interesting thing for that to take off that quickly. I think that probably reflects what you're
Again,
seeing.
Though, we can't just whine and cry about it. People, good, conservative Austinites have to run for office. Yeah. They have to run for office and replace our, very liberal leaning council.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're going to watch that and see how that develops, because I think that's going to be a story that's not going to go away.
No.
pretty obvious. All right. So switching to some fun topics, some non-political topics. So outside of your districts, you've lived all over Texas. You've been all over Texas. What is your favorite place to go? Like whether it's a vacation spot or a travel spot or, I don't know, a brewery, a dance hall. Is there a place in Texas that you just really like? City, like what is it?
Oh.
If you had to name like one spot you just really, really enjoy in Texas, what would that be?
I like the grist mill.
Yeah.
I love going there. It feels very Texas
Yeah.
to be there, and the hall that's right there. They always have, live music in there. And so I remember when my daughter was in middle school and early high school, I would rent a 15-passenger van, and we would pile as many girls as we could in there, and we would drive from Houston, and we would spend the whole day there.
Yeah.
And then they would dance. We would all dance at the hall, and then I would drive everybody home. Anyway, so I mean, I love it. I do love that place.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess if I had to pick a place.
I know my wife and I like to travel and hike and stuff. And, we went to Big Bend last year before our son was born.
I've never been.
Oh, it is awesome. I mean, you got to go. We went in May. You can't go when it's too hot, right? Because, I mean, it gets 120 degrees down there if you're not careful. That was probably it was the most eye-opening thing when you get down there. You just realize how incredible the landscape is. Rio Grande's right there. It is the most, you feel like you're on another planet. It's so remote. And it's so vast, and you're looking around, and you're going. It gives you an appreciation for how small we really are, right?
That's how I feel when I stayed on the side of the Grand Canyon.
Yeah,
I'm like, we are so insignificant.
Yeah,
That's how I feel.
That's exactly what I feel. That was awesome. That's one of my favorite places, that we've gone to in Texas, and obviously I love hill country as well.
Oh, I do too. Yeah.
Vineyards and wineries out there is great. All right, so what do the Flecks do for fun? Obviously, you have a little too much fun on the jet ski.
Yeah. So we actually live on the lake.
Okay.
Which is a blessing.
Yep.
And so we have a boat and a pool and jet skis and a trampoline.
I promised Jennifer had the cast on before she came into the
So that's what we do for fun.
Yeah.
We just hang out outside, and right now I can't be outside, and it's so hard. Like, I never watch TV, never.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just not one of those people.
Yeah.
And so
we don't have cable at our house.
I've watched more TV in the last 5 days or so. I went to camp with my church last week, so no TV. But this week I'm sitting around. I don't want to go outside and get hot because then the cast gets smelly, and so I'm watching TV. And my 14-year-old son, he walks in and he's like, "Where did you put my mother?" He's like, "Who are you? I've never seen you watch TV in your life."
Yeah.
So I'm watching more TV. But normally we are outside and working in the yard and just being outside and playing with the dog and skiing. My husband and my son love to wake surf.
Yeah.
So that's what we do.
That's awesome.
And Lake Travis is beautiful.
Yep. Yeah.
It's beautiful. You get out on there and you're like, you could be anywhere.
Yeah.
And then you're in Texas.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the lake is great. My father-in-law's got a place up in Lake Buchanan and Burnett, and we go up there probably once every 6 weeks or so. It's just nice. I mean, it is a good retreat from sort of reality in a lot of ways. So
yeah, and the people I love, you just can't replace Texas people.
Yeah.
You just can't.
Yeah,
and so everybody you meet, everybody you're with, it's awesome.
Yeah. All right. So last question. I don't know if you're a big football fan. We got college football starting in about 3 weeks. I'm assuming, are you UT? This is a dangerous question.
I know. I'm going to root for UT if they're playing.
Sure.
My husband went to TCU, so we're TCU fans.
Got it.
I don't watch a ton of college football.
Yeah.
But I do like football.
Yeah.
But I'd rather watch the professionals play. We're big Packer fans because my husband's from Wisconsin. So we're big Packer fans.
Is he a part owner since? Okay. Yeah.
And we, I love the Texans, of course. And then I love watching the players that come out of Lake Travis.
Yeah.
So Nick Foles.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember his name.
Drew Brees, but also he plays for help me out. I can't remember the other guy. Anyway, he's a quarterback too. Yeah.
Anyway, so I love watching hometown players.
Yeah.
Play in the big leagues.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, honestly, there's been a
ton of really good players that have come out.
I know, it's fun.
Yeah, it's
like bragging rights.
Yeah, it really is. It's a crazy thing to look at all these like really good quarterbacks that have, obviously made it in the NFL.
And
that have come from the one
if you go to an LT game, or really if you go to any game in this area, Westlake, Vandergrift, LT game, I mean, there are people there who don't even have kids in school anymore.
And
or they're just had babies. And so they're serious. It's like Friday Night Lights.
Honestly, that's one of the best parts of like just Texas life is how much high school football is so important and people love it.
Yeah, but it's like a community.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's fun and it brings everybody out and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jennifer, thank you for joining us. This has been great.
Can I do my recruit pitch?
Go ahead. Fire away. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I still think one person can make a difference, and that's why I'm running. But I need help, and I am just asking all the conservatives in Texas to leave your comfort zone and consider running for school board or city council, and so that you can be a part of the solution, and we can keep Texas strong. So that's my pitch.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us. This has been great. Seriously.
Yeah.
We love doing these kind of candidate sort of interviews for these races. And this is obviously one we're going to follow very, very closely. So we will obviously follow your race as you're running, and we'll see how the primary sort of plays out. And for everybody, everybody who we've spoken with, we wish you the best, as we wish everyone. Obviously, it can only be one person that wins, but we do appreciate you coming in on a really hot day too. So thank you very much. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you all for listening. If you've been enjoying our podcast, it would be awesome if you would review us on iTunes. And if there's a guest you'd love to hear on our show, give us a shout out on Twitter. Tweet @TheTexanNews. We're proud to have you standing with us as we seek to provide real journalism in an age of disinformation. We're paid for exclusively by readers like you, so it's important we all do our part to support The Texan by subscribing and telling your friends about us. God bless you, and God bless Texas.